Hi, it's Davina, and I'm back in the kitchen on this side of the camera. I'm in my Pax Luna t-shirt, and it is the day before Thanksgiving. And I like to buy my challah bread from a local bakery, but I can make bread dough myself, and I use the exact same bread dough recipe for everything I do, whether it's a pizza crust or a braided challah loaf, bread rolls, buns, anything like that. I use the exact same recipe. And it's time for me to do that because the bakery isn't open the Friday after Thanksgiving, so I have to do this all myself. So, time now is 1:38, so I'm gonna gather up all my stuff. I'm gonna need my mixer, and I'm gonna want my mixing bowl, and a hook, and measuring cups, measuring spoons. I do like to use a scale, though you don't have to use a scale. And ingredient, I'm gonna need this. Okay, and now ingredients. Gonna need flour, gonna need yeast, gonna want butter, gonna want thermometer, that's in the tools section. Gonna need some sugar, and then milk, egg, and an egg yolk. Now, what makes challah is it's an enriched bread. What is an enriched bread? Well, all you need to make bread is water and yeast and flour. Boom, bread is happening. You can actually cut out the yeast if you want to have an unleavened bread, like a cracker or a matzah. But to make an enriched dough, you need to add egg and sometimes milk. All right, the first thing we're going to do is a technique. It's Japanese. I think it's pronounced tezong. Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce it, but basically you're pre-cooking a little bit of the flour with your liquids to help it have a easier texture. It's used in milk breads, and I'm going to use it here. So we're going to need 2 tablespoons of flour and 2 tablespoons of water and 1/4 cup of milk. And we're gonna mix this all up and then heat it on low until we've got a nice paste. It's gonna be not quite like a roux and not quite like a glue. All right, so it's gonna do its thing. We're gonna slowly cook that, and while this is thickening up and turning into a nice little paste, we are going to bloom our yeast. Now, to bloom our yeast, you're gonna need active dry yeast. You're going to need a 1/2 cup of water and a 1/2 cup of milk that is around 90 degrees Fahrenheit. I'll put on the screen whatever that is in Celsius. You have to treat this kind of gently because these are little live guys, and you want to check to make sure that the expiration date has not passed on your yeast because they are a live little critter. But if you do see that it's a little bit past the pull date, you can try to bloom it, and if you do see bubbles, great. But you don't want to have it too hot or you'll automatically kill them. You don't want to have it too cold or they won't wake up. Yeah, that's good enough. 100 degrees, gotta wait for this to cool down. Meanwhile, if I go over here, you'll see this is starting to do its pasty thing. So I think this is about done. This now needs to cool down so I can add it in when I add the wet stuff to my dry ingredients. Okay, we're back here to the yeast. What have we got on temperature? 93, 94, 95 degrees. So it is already 150. 12 minutes have already gone by, and I'm only at this stage, and I still have to wait for this to cool a little bit. But I can separate my eggs. We need 1 whole egg and 1 egg yolk. I pre-cracked that egg into here. I had to use egg yolks and other things that I was doing. So I like to crack all of my eggs into one bowl and then scoop out the yolks when I need them. So do I need that now? Well, I need this to be the right temperature to bloom the yeast, and then I can pour that into a bowl and mix my eggs together. But I can beat my eggs now to get them broken up. Now, it's perfectly normal to have yolks that are different sizes on different eggs. Keep these whites for later because you're going to need to do an egg wash. I just tend to use my egg whites for the egg wash. How are we on temperature? 93, 92. Ooh, getting closer. Keeping this all in frame is actually a little bit hard, so I'm going to do some moving things around because I can at least set up my dry ingredients and get those incorporated together and then add in my wet ingredients. So wet guys, we're moving off screen. Okay, here's the thing. We need 4 cups of flour. You can do this by weight, but this is where baking is more of a pure science and chemistry thing than it is cooking, because by weight, you will need 500 grams or about 1 pound is what 4 cups is. This is a 2-cup measure, but that's sifted. And depending on how compacted your flour is, depending on the moisture that your flour has absorbed, the humidity in the air, and all sorts of things, it can do a lot to change stuff. So we're gonna put in 4 cups and just find out what it weighs according to my scale. So I turn it on with a bowl on there. Okay, I've got it in pounds and ounces, so I'm gonna change the unit to gram because metric is awesome. And yes, scooping it out does compact it into the scooper. So that's not quite sifted, but things happen. Okay, 2 cups. We got 348 grams so far. Okay. Almost 700 grams. Okay, about 700 grams of flour. Then our salt, 1.5 teaspoons or to taste. And to get these little yeasties to do their little yeasty things, 1/3 cup of sugar. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna put these in the mixer with a hook so it's all incorporated, and go check on the temperature of the milk water for the yeast. All right, let's see if we're in the 90 degrees zone. Oh, a little bit low, but that's still okay. 90-ish. Yeah, that'll be good. Okay. A little bit higher than room temperature is what you want. I want all my little yeasty beasties to be dissolved so they're all in contact with the food. The milk has sugars in it. That'll help them wake up and start doing their little yeasty business. Okay, let those hang out for a bit, do some cleanup, get that dry stuff incorporated, and then we're starting to put it all together. Okay, let's get everybody to start partying together. So we get the milk, water, yeast mix mixed in with the eggs. Okay. Yeah, mixer over here. Put it on low. Very carefully pour in my liquids. Scoop in my cooked flour paste. Clean countertops are essential when you start. All right, it's 2:08. We're a half hour in, and I need to get this dough off the hook because it's more moist next to the hook than it is down these crumbly bits down below. Now, see how it's formed a pretty decent ball at this point? I'm gonna now add in a half cup of butter, a little bit at a time. And we're just gonna let that guy go until it's silky smooth. All right, it's been about another 5 or 6 minutes of mixing, and now we have a nice glob of dough that's holding together. I should wipe this down. Okay, on a re-cleaned countertop, pull out your dough. Stretch it around until you have a nice sphere. And now it needs to rest. Now, if you've got a nice warm house and you're going to be baking it today, give it 2 hours with either some oil and saran wrap or a damp towel over the top to keep it moist. Let it rise, punch it down, and then form it into whatever kind of loaf, bun, braid, pizza crust, whatever you want, and then you can go. However, this is not only for Thanksgiving, but I'm going to actually split it, do some of this as Thanksgiving rolls and some of it as a challah for the following day. So you've got about 48 hours max to do something with this dough. So we're going to let it rise, and then tomorrow I'm going to portion it out, some for rolls, and then I'm going to do my challah braid, and I'm going to put it back in my fridge, and then the next day I'll bake fresh challah. So you've got maximum 2 days to do something with this dough. You might be able to stretch it to a third day, but I wouldn't bet on that because we've got nice little live yeasties in here that are trying to do their business, and you can slow them down so they don't overdo their thing if you put it in the fridge, but they're still awake now. They're still gonna do their thing. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a quick little thing of oil on this and saran wrap, put it in my refrigerator so that tomorrow I can have fresh rolls for Thanksgiving and the next day a braided challah. All right, it's Thanksgiving Day and I've got a million things going on. One of them is getting the bread ready. Make sure your work surface is cleaned off, and check out our first rised dough. Okay. It's fluffy, but because it was in the refrigerator, it's not as fluffy as it could have been if we let it rise elsewhere. I'm going to punch out the air, and I need to portion off part of this to be rolls today, and the rest I'm going to turn into a challah loaf. So the stuff that's going to be a challah loaf, I'm going to just plop back in there, cover up and keep warm. And then bread rolls, I should weigh this out. Okay, 345 grams. Now that my dough balls are formed, I'm just gonna cover them up so they don't dry out and let them rest for about 20 to 40 minutes for baking at 375 for about 15 minutes. Now that's bread rolls, but wait, wasn't I gonna make some challah? Yes, I was. Now this isn't gonna get baked until tomorrow, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna shape it today, cover it with saran and a little bit of oil, and then put my egg wash and all that fun stuff on it tomorrow. So I've punched out all of those first gas bubbles, and it weighs 950 grams. Okay, how do I want to divide this? Now I could divide this into 6 pieces for a 6-part braid. Good there. I think what I'm going to do, however, is just a 4-strand braid. All right, now I have them in evenly weighed out balls. So now I need to turn them into snakes. Here are my lovely 4 snakes. So it's a weaving technique where you go over and under. There we go. Now I'm going to put this on the pan that I'm going to end up baking it on tomorrow and resting it in the refrigerator instead of 20 minutes at room temperature. Okay, now that these have rested 20 to 40 minutes, I'm going to give them egg wash, put them in the oven that's preheated to 375 degrees, and they're going to cook about 15 minutes. All right, after 15 minutes, this is what our bread rolls look like. And I'm going to take the least perfect looking one and break it open. Oh, so good. Nothing like fresh bread rolls for the holidays. All right, there we go. That's my challah bread loaf. Nice little braid there. And I use this bread recipe for everything, for pizza crusts, for bread loaves, for challah, for buns, for cinnamon rolls. It's my go-to bread recipe. I find it works well for just about everything that I want to make. It's not as fluffy as store-bought challah, and I don't really know what more I could do. It probably has to do with the proofing process and maybe some cool, awesome chemicals that you can add to it, but that's the bread that I like to make. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please comment, like, and subscribe, all that fun stuff, and I hope to do this again with you soon. Bye-bye.